Here's the podcast script. In Colorado, the long aftermath of a fire feels political. Last summer, a wildfire tore through Rio Blanco County in western Colorado. The Lee Fire burned close to 137,800 acres, the fifth largest wildfire in Colorado history. Residents called it a tornado of fire. And nearly a year later, the people who live there are still dealing with the fallout, not just from the flames, but from a political dispute that left them without federal help. Kyle Thompson is a lineman for White River Electric Association, a small utility cooperative based in Meeker, a tight-knit ranching town of about 6,600 people. 4 months after the fire, Thompson trekked miles a day through rugged terrain, picking up charred debris and restringing burned power lines. He tallied the damage carefully: $104,000 for 32 burned poles on one highway, $250,000 for 55 more on a county road. His numbers fed into a formal request that Colorado's Democratic governor, Jared Polis, sent to President Trump, a major disaster declaration to unlock FEMA assistance. A bipartisan group of state lawmakers backed the request. The total damage was assessed at $27 million, most of it for utility repairs. Thompson assumed the federal government would help. Then, in late December, came the answer: no. The Trump administration denied the request with little explanation. State officials said it was the first time in 35 years that Colorado had been turned down for a major disaster declaration. And the denial didn't happen in a vacuum. Around the same time, President Trump was publicly attacking Colorado's Democratic leadership over the imprisonment of Tina Peters, a former county clerk he called a hostage. The administration also announced it was relocating U.S. Space Command and hundreds of jobs from Colorado to Alabama, a move widely seen as a political rebuke of the state. Then Trump vetoed a bipartisan bill for clean drinking water infrastructure in rural Colorado. For the people of Rio Blanco County, a place where 81% of residents voted for Trump in 2024, that string of events landed hard. They felt not just ignored, but used as pawns. Kathleen Kelly, a 71-year-old who has been tied to her family's 2,000-acre ranch in the county for decades, lost nearly all of it to the Lee Fire. 20 miles of fencing burned. The land can't support a herd. Reseeding, rebuilding fences, repairing roads, she estimates that will cost at least $500,000. The rancher she leased her land to, Chad Carter, lost 5 cows and had to move his entire herd hundreds of miles east. He says the cost set him back hundreds of thousands of dollars. Kelly and Carter have grown closer through the ordeal, bound by shared financial stress and a shared fear that White River Electric will raise rates to cover its own losses since, without FEMA funds, those costs have to come from somewhere. But when it comes to blame, they part ways. Kelly, who is registered as unaffiliated and didn't vote for Trump, is furious at the federal government. She points out the fire started on land managed by the Bureau of Land Management. "We have livelihoods at risk out here," she said. "I'm mad as hell. They can build ballrooms in Washington but can't help us." Carter, a Republican and a Trump supporter, faults Governor Polis and state Democrats, who he says have consistently ignored this part of Colorado. He went to briefings after the fire. Polis never showed up to talk to ranchers directly, he said. He also doesn't want to borrow money. The government's offered alternative through the Agriculture Department and the Small Business Administration, and neither does Kelly. Meanwhile, a brutal fire season is expected this summer. Snowpack is historically low. Drought conditions are severe across the West. And the people of Rio Blanco County are heading into it still waiting on repairs, still absorbing losses, and still disagreeing not just with Washington, but with each other about who let them down. Sometimes the clearest picture of a political fight is found not in any capital, but in the scorched fields where real people are left to pick up the pieces.